guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Paige and this is my open book. In today's video we're going to be doing the first TBR of 2025, which is crazy, but we're going to do it a little bit differently. So grab a drink and grab a snack and let's get into it. So my intention was to still continue the TBR jar into the new year, right? But then I decided to start a reading journal. I'll give you guys a little like not professional flip through of it really quick if you're curious. But I wanted to start a reading journal this year, so I bought a brand new bullet journal so I could set it up. Got the year cover page. I did like a library so that I could color in each book that I read, and I think I'm gonna color code it to be like what star rating I gave it, so it'll be all colored in by the end of the year. I think I put like 200 books on here because this year I was able to read I think like over 200. I don't know how. I have this spread where I'm going to keep track of the best book of each month, so I'm going to like print out the little book covers and put them there. And then I have this book bracket so I can see like which book is the best of the year. I have this where I'm going to print out the book covers for the book club I have with Katie. Then I'm going to do a Hall of Fame where all of my 5-star reads, I'm going to put the books here. So I added a few pages for that because I give 5 stars pretty often. And then I have this page where I'm going to put in different quotes that I like from the books that I read. And then on the back, I also have space there. Then I have a DNF graveyard because I embrace the DNF. We embrace the DNF in this household, okay? If I'm not liking a book, I'm gonna DNF it, and that's just the way it is. I'm not gonna waste my time. Okay, now this is where the reality check hit me very hard. I decided to add a series tracker. I was like, oh, let me count how many series I'm in the middle of. Drop your guesses down below. Like, how many series do you think I'm in the middle of right now? I'll let you put your guesses. 70. 70. I felt so attacked when I realized how many series I was in the middle of. Like, girl, finish something. Finish something. Like, I didn't realize how bad it was. I used to be the kind of reader where I would not go to another series until I binged the whole series that I started. That used to be the kind of reader that I was. I used to even like binge an entire author's backlist before I started a new author's work, because I'm usually a finisher, okay? Like, when I used to play video games as a kid, I couldn't leave anything undone. I had to look up every single side quest, every single achievement that I could unlock, and like, that's, yeah. I don't know what that says about me, but normally that's how I am. But I feel like I started to get a little like crazy with my reading because I felt like, oh my god, there's so many series I want to read and I'm never going to get to them all. Kind of put myself in a weird spot. So, being that I'm in the middle of so many series right now, yeah, I know. I decided that for the month of January, instead of doing my typical TBR jar, I'm just gonna see how many of these series I can finish in the month of January. I really wanna start my year off strong, and we're just gonna see how many. Especially because I realized that 20 of these 70 that I'm in the middle of, 20 of them, I only need to read one book and then I'm done. Like, when I say that out loud, that is so frustrating that I did that to myself. January is going to be the month of finishing as many series as I can. So instead of doing the typical TBR jar with the fun prompts, I know it's not as exciting, but I am going to create a jar and I'm just going to put numbers 1 through 20 in it. And then I have a list of the 20 series that only have one book left for me to finish. So I'll just pick a number out of that jar throughout the month whenever I'm ready to pick up a new book. Find it on this list, and that's the next book I'm going to read. So by the end of the month, we'll see how many of the 20 I was able to successfully finish. We'll just run through the 20 options just so that you guys can help hold me accountable. So if you see me reading something on Goodreads or Instagram throughout the month of January that is not on this list, like, please yell at me, please. First, we have a couple of series by Tessa Bailey. We have the Hot and Hammered series. This has definitely been on a couple of my TBRs and I just never get around to it. I don't know why, but I know this one's I think it's like a single dad. And the theme of this series is like home renovation kind of thing. So I need to read it. Next was Beach Kingdom. This is a series that I read over the summer. Obviously, it totally gives summer vibes. So it's gonna be weird reading this in January, but it's fine. But I know this one's gonna be like a childhood friends to lovers, and I do love those. So I do want to read all of these. That's the problem. I just haven't. Number 3 is Hades and Persephone Saga. If you're regular on my channel, I've talked about this a lot. I was supposed to finish this series in 2024. As I'm filming this, there's only a couple days left in December, and I just don't think I'm going to get to it. But January, it has to happen. I need to close this out. 1, because it's a great series and I want to finish it. But 2, I feel like I can't read anything else that's Greek mythology inspired until I finish this series, because otherwise the worlds are going to get confused in my brain. So that's a top priority for sure. Number 4 is Cherry Tree Harbor. I thought I had finished this series, but then I realized that Melanie Harlow came out with this book, which is hockey, which I like, but I think this has like accidental pregnancy in it, which is not usually my favorite. So that's why I've been putting it off, let's be real. But I've seen good reviews, so maybe it'll be a good one. I don't know. There have been a couple accidental pregnancies that I did end up liking, so I'm not writing this one off completely. Bright Fall series by Ashley Herring Blake. Again, only 1 book left. I love the first 2. The first 2 were 5-star. This is like one of my favorite sapphic authors ever. So I know I'm gonna like it. I guess that's why I put it off, because like I don't want to be done. Next is Ashes and Embers. I technically skipped one of the books just because it had some triggers that I couldn't get past. There is 1 book in this series technically that's the same as one of the other books, but in someone else's point of view, so I skipped that one. So I only have 1 book left, which is Asher. That's the final book of the series, but I've been putting it off because I know it's going to be a heavy hitter. If you read the series, I'm pretty sure the series, or the story with Asher and his wife is, I think his wife was in a terrible accident, and then afterwards she like was never the same, but they were like soulmates beforehand, and now he's kind of struggling with like the aftermath, and I just know it's going to be a heart-wrenching story, and I think that's why I've been putting it off, because I'm scared. TBH. Another Carrie Ann Cole book I need to read is Tide, which is the final book in the duet or duology of All Torn Up. Then we have Uptown Girls by Joanna Shoup. This is one of my favorite historical romance authors. Joanna Shoup, she's great. I love how she does historical romance, but it's not like super stuffy, old-timey. Like, it's obviously still like in the past, but it takes place in America, in New York, and it's kind of like the later 1800s. And she does really good banter. Next is the Salacious Players Club. I never read the last book in the series, which is Madame. And I don't know why, because this character, she's in like all the other books, and she's like a great character. She is kind of like the notorious one of the club that like teaches a bunch of people about the BDSM world. So she finally gets her romance. Like, I do want to know how it ends. I do. Next is Bromance Book Club. Okay. I love this series, but there's one character in the book club, the Bromance Book Club. He's like this Russian, is he a hockey player too, I think? But in the other books, they make him seem like kind of gross. Like, they make him seem just like not the most like sanitary. I don't know. I feel like they give him like the gross guy humor, and it's like I don't really want to read that. So I skipped his book. But I'll give it a try, because I loved all the other ones. So I need to just finish it out. The Birthday List by Daphne Perry. This is from the Mason Jar series. We read Letters to Molly, which is technically the 2nd book in this. And we read that for book club, and I did not like that book at all. But Katie put this in her top 10 books of the year. So I feel like I need to give it another chance. Because even though I didn't like the 2nd book, I could still like this one. You know what I mean? Plus, it's free on Audible, so it won't be too bad for me to finish. Vancouver Agitators is another one that I already have on audio. And Megan Quinn does do great casting for her narrations. This is a full cast narration for this audiobook. So I know the audiobook will at least be good. But I'm worried about the storyline, because this series started off really strong. I loved the first book. But then I felt like as the books went on, normally the found family like team dynamics are part of the reason why I love hockey romances, but this one kind of reads a little bit immature for some reason to me. And the last book kind of let me down with how she characterized the MMC, because I had like a certain picture in my head of how he would be as a boyfriend or like as a lover, and I feel like she didn't really match that. So I don't know, we'll see. Another Megan Quinn series I realized I never finished, even though I read pretty much everything in her backlist, is Dating by Numbers. The first book in the series I was obsessed with, and I even liked the 2nd one. But again, the 3rd one, kind of similar to the Slapshot Surprise that I showed earlier. It's a hockey romance, but it's also an accidental pregnancy. So I was like, okay, I'm just not even going to read it, I guess. I just skipped it entirely. but now is the time. I need to close it out. Next is The Van City Villains by Jane Diamond. Jane Diamond wrote one of my favorite series. Technically there's multiple series around the same like world. It's called the Dirty Verse, where there's this band that she wrote a book series about. I binged it. It's one of my favorite series of all time. And then she has a bunch of like spin-off series surrounding it. This is another kind of spin-off because it does have some overlapping characters, but this one is not really rockstar world at all. These are more like billionaire type romances. I think one of them I loved, but then the other two I absolutely hated. So the fourth one is the tiebreaker, so that's why I've been putting it off, because what if I don't like it? I don't know. I think I love Jane Diamond's rock star world, so I think whenever she doesn't include that in it, it like takes me out of why I love her. I don't know. It's a me thing. It's a me thing. Next is Magnolia Falls by Laura Pavlov. This is another series that kind of had its ups and downs for me. It had some of my favorites, like I think two of them. Yeah, two. Loving Romeo, and then the most recent one, Beating Heart. Those are top tier. I love them so much. But the rest of them have kind of been meh. But yeah, I think this one's supposed to be like a firefighter and like a fake marriage trope. So we'll see how that goes. Next we have Sutton Mountain. This third book just came out I think a couple months ago. And I really like the first two. The first one was definitely my favorite because it's like childhood, friends to lovers, slash they become exes. So then it's like a second chance romance later on in life. Plus he's a cowboy, which we love. And the small town is just really great. But I don't even remember what this third book is about at all. Like I couldn't tell you anything about this book. For some reason I just haven't retained anything. I know people talked about it on social media, but I just, other than the fact that it takes place in the same small town, I couldn't tell you anything about these characters or what it's about. So I'm just gonna go in blind and we'll see. Then we have All the King's Men by Kennedy Ryan. So I read the first two books that are kind of together as like a duology, and then there's another book after about a different character and her romance. If you missed my wrap up where I talked about when I read those books last month, I loved the first book in the duology, so I went ahead and I bought the third book. But then the second book like really let me down. So now I kind of wish I didn't pick up the third book, but it's already on my Kindle, so I'm gonna read it. Then we have My Spy. I read this in the month of December, the first book called The Spy and I, and it was really fun. It was a good time. It had a great plot. The romance wasn't like the best, but I also recognize the fact that this probably is more so supposed to be focused on the spy storyline and the action than the romance. You know what I mean? I feel like it would be like a regular spy action movie where the action is the main plot and then the romance is just like a subplot. So I think as long as you look at it with that lens, this is much more successful than if you look at it as a romance, if that makes sense. So we'll see how the second book goes. It was really entertaining. Then we have, okay, the next two are kind of conditional. So the next one is Markham Hall by Sierra Simone. This is 5 books and I've read 3 of them. So technically I have 2 more left instead of 1 to finish the series out, but I have them on audio and they're pretty short. So I feel like I'll be able to still knock those out. If I draw number 19 out of my jar, I can easily knock out both of them and still consider the series finished in the month of January. Then the last one is Nashville Neighborhood series, because I thought I already finished it, but then she just randomly announced that she's going to come out with another book in the Nashville Neighborhood series in the month of January. Let me see when it comes out. January 23rd. So this comes out like at the end of the month-ish. So maybe I can still squeeze it in like in the last week of January. And then there'll be another series that I've technically finished. I'm sure this is going to be an age gap thing. I think it's like Dad's Friend or something like that. And I'm excited. I love Nikki Sloan's writing. This series is really good. And I'm really looking forward to it. That was a nice surprise because I thought the series was done. I had no idea she was going to keep coming out with more. So I'm not even mad that I added an extra series to the list because I'm excited about it. So those are the 20 books that I know are going to be in my second jar that I'm going to make, where I just pick out numbers throughout the month. Let's be real. There are other books I'm probably going to read. Because I'm insane. But I will say, The Broker was on there as a new release. 2 other new releases are technically also ones where I can finish the series. So we have Puck Chase by, oh my god, I forgot her name. It's on there. You could see it. Puck Chase. I totally forgot this was coming out in January. For some reason I thought there would be a longer period of time before the next book came out. But I haven't looked up anything about this book. This is a hockey romance series that I love. I'm obsessed. People talk about like the Pucking Wrong Number series and how they love that because it's kind of like hockey romance but also dark. I personally think this is way better. It sounds like it's going to be MM. So I'm pumped because this series has been at the top of so many things for me. The next one is Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros. I've already pre-ordered this, so I know the hardcover is going to be coming in the mail when it comes out. Have I read Iron Flame yet? No. But I have the audios, the graphic audios, so I could listen to those before I get Onyx Storm, maybe, possibly. This is a very ambitious TBR, okay? Don't judge me. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Another new release I'm probably going to pick up is Visions of Darkness by A.L. Jackson. This is her first stab at a romantasy, which you guys know A.L. Jackson's my favorite author of all time. So anything she releases, like, I'm going to read it. So I'm very curious to see how she does romantasy. I feel like she's going to be a dark horse in that genre this year. So that's exciting. I don't know anything about it. Again, I kind of want to go in blind because I'm just really excited to see how she does it. So I'm definitely going to be picking that up, let's be real. For our book club, so if you are new to my channel, I do a book club with Katie from Katie Reads. I'll have her channel linked down below. And we alternate between romance and thriller picks for our book club. And in the month of January, it's a romance pick. And if you are on Instagram at all, you've probably seen this. This is the first book in a series that's coming out in January. There are going to be 3 books. So yes, am I starting a new series? Yes, I am. But it's fine. I could, in theory, finish it because the first book comes out on the 7th, the second book comes out on the 9th, and then the third book comes out on the 11th. Each one is by a different author, but they're all about, like, wildfire firefighters. And these covers are just gorgeous, gorgeous. Katie and I have been obsessed ever since they were announced. So naturally, we picked this for our January book club because we just can't wait. We are really excited to read it. So if you want to join us for the live show, you totally should. This comes out, like I said, on the 7th on Kindle Unlimited, so you have plenty of time to read it. And if you want to be an overachiever and try to read all 3 like I'm going to try to do, then even better. But our live show is going to be on January 30th at 7 p.m. Eastern, and it'll be on my channel. So hopefully you guys can join us for that. And I think that's it for my January TBR. So hopefully future page in the January wrap up will come back to you. I feel like as long as I finish 10, like, I'll be happy. I think that's a great way to start the year. I don't know how my future TBRs are gonna go because my big goal for this year is to try and just finish series out before I keep starting new ones. So we'll see how the TBRs go this year. If you have any ideas for how I should do this TBR series killer challenge, I don't know, we should call it series killer, like serial killer. That's kind of fun. So yeah, if you have any ideas for my January series killer challenge, or maybe like 2025 series killer challenge, leave them in the comments down below. And give this video a like, and be sure to hit subscribe so you can see how many of these I actually end up reading in the month of January. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time. Bye.